We're live.
And we are live. Hello,
Okay.
everybody.
Hi.
All right, well, here we go again. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another helping of Audacity for Breakfast, conversations for people bold enough to build change. I am one of your co-facilitators, your conveners, your co-host, one of the loudmouths on the microphone, Dr. Senenge, with my ever gracious co-host, joining co-convener and so on, the money mechanic, the Christine Esquire.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Audacity for Breakfast. We're so happy to have you with us.
Yes, indeed. And again, we are joined. In fact, let me let you take it away.
Yeah, go ahead.
Christine, oh no,
Okay.
I was inviting you to reintroduce our guest to the
Okay.
people.
All right. So, hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Audacity for Breakfast. You can tell that the energy on the show is building up. And last week, we started a very, very interesting conversation with a woman who is changing politics. And she is no other person than the Peace Dukas. Now, the Peace Dukas started a very interesting conversation with us last week, sharing her thoughts about being a woman in the sphere of politics, her purpose, finding her purpose in such a place where everyone thinks is a dirty game. And today she's here with us again. And that is because last week we couldn't finish our conversation. In fact, we didn't even touch the tip of the iceberg because Nigeria happened to us. But we decided that we're going to be audacious enough to come back again. So we are here saying, we no go gree oh. We passed Nigeria, so we're here again today, and we have Peace with us again. Now, Peace is my friend, and like I said last week, we've been through a lot together. We've come a long way. We met in secondary school, and we moved from being schoolmates to being friends, to be sisters in arms. We've done a lot together. We've worked in the community together. Our birthdays are on par, so we've celebrated our birthdays together. Exactly, and we've done a lot together. So for me, this is a personal invitation. Tonight, Peace is here with us. I personally have watched her journey evolve, really. When she started this politics thing, I was just like, hey, Peace, politics. Okay, what is going on? But she's actually come to like love this, and she's doing amazing at it. And like I mentioned last week, what has caught my attention is her love for political education. She's not just trying to win some political seats and earn herself a name. She's actually concerned about the citizens like us who don't even understand what is going on in the political space. And that is why she's here with us. That is the one way, and many other ways she's making a change in politics. So, Peace, over to you. Can you introduce yourself formally and tell us who you are, what you do, and yes, anything you'd like us to know about you? Over to you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Perfect.
We're not doing this.
Yes, Peace, we can hear you.
Go ahead, though. Oh no.
That's okay. We're coming. We're coming.
Yeah, she's gonna rejoin us. We cannot have a replay of last week. I'm hopeful about today. Very hopeful about today. Okay. Yeah, so Senego, before Peace rejoins us, would you like to
Okay.
share how your week has been? What interesting things have happened?
What interesting things have happened? Well, it's interesting as I keep looking at and seeing how this theme of audacity keeps showing up in different ways in different spaces, and frankly surprising me. and then challenging me also to try different things and do things in different ways. Um, I've been finding lots of ways to, frankly, not be anxious about some things that are outside of my control. And it's interesting that takes a different kind of audacity, to just kind of let things happen, and to allow for it. And it's challenging, but it's been freeing at the same time. And so this engagement, in fact, this very thing that we're experiencing right now is an example of that. Look at this is out of our control. We could
Yeah.
be angry right now, but I think it takes a different kind of energy to embrace it and say, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to address it, and not let it make us sweat, because that part is outside of our control. But we
It's
can
outside
control
of
what
our
we do.
control.
Right, right,
Exactly. So you know how they say you can't control what happens to you, you can only control your response to it. I
right.
think that's just it. So Peace,
Indeed.
you're back. Don't worry. Just
This
breathe.
is not
Let's
going to
roll
be
right
this
into
time
it.
around.
Just breathe. The floor
Okay,
is
okay.
yours.
So, okay. Hi, everyone. Evening, good evening from wherever you are. As Christine said, as Dr. Senenge said, my name is Dukas Ritmortis, that's the full name. And of course, I'm a politician. And I know that anytime I mention I'm a politician, the first thing people want to hear is if I have run for an office, if I have contested at any election or so, or if I've held any public office or so. But I know the particular one they want to hear is if I have actually contested in an election, right? And this is me saying, no, I haven't, not yet, but we're getting there, right? So, aside from politics, so I think maybe when we go further in the conversation, I would explain that and maybe, yeah, bring clarity around the concept and what people think about who a politician should be, right, from the actual sense of who a politician is, right? So aside politics, I love to call myself I love to say that I'm someone that is a politics and governance educator, because that's basically what I do. And apart from that, I'm also a politics and governance advocate, right? So I love to teach people about politics, about our rights and our civic responsibilities as citizens. So, not just being citizens and holding leaders accountable, but as citizens, what are our rights? What are our responsibilities? Are we doing our own part? Before even calling the leaders out, because of course the leaders are gotten from within us, right? So basically that's what I do. And also I am an OAP. Yes, I'm also into the communication space, right? I co-host a radio program, it's called Echoes of the Plateau Dream. And basically what we do is um, youth involvement, youth participation in politics, and also holding our leaders accountable. And of course, reminding citizens of our civic rights and our civic responsibilities. So, but I am an educationist. Yes, educationist by training, by profession. Basically, that is what I studied at the university, right? And that among so many others. So I would love to stop there. So from my introduction, you can see that I think virtually all the things I do is somehow in one way or the other tied around politics, around governance, right? Around developmental work and all that. So I'd love to stop there in terms of
Thank you so
the
much.
introduction.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Peace. I can see that three of us on this episode tonight share one common passion, which is education. I think that that is like a cord that binds three of us together because we are educating in different spaces, but the underlying thing is we are so passionate about educating people. I don't know, Senengu, do you agree with me?
I agree 100%. 100%. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Awesome. So I think that we're one spirit. Yes, one spirit. All right. Peace. I picked something from what you said, right? And I would ask my own question, and then Senenge can also ask. Was when you called yourself a politician, and then you followed up with the question people ask you. That was exactly what was on my mind. And I think that I'd like you to start by actually telling us who is a politician. Because to be very honest, me, if you tell me you're a politician, me, I want to just know which post are you holding. But then hearing you talk now, I'm just like, hmm. There are actually politicians that are not necessarily holding office. It's just like how you say a leader must is not by the office you are holding. So now is getting me to think who really is a politician. That's my own question.
Okay, so let's start by what politics is, right? And I can remember from last episode, I talked about politics being a tool, right? That, of course, will get you to that position of leadership, especially when it has to do with governance, of course. And a politician is someone who uses this tool to get into office, right? To get into that position of leadership. So not just office alone. Now, when you're in position of leadership, it doesn't have to be that you're occupying an office or you have a tag to your name to actually occupy that. There are politicians who, of course, I love to call a politician is someone who has influence. Now, when I talk about influence in terms of governance, now you influence a lot of decisions, you influence a lot of processes and what goes on in governance, right? Now, in government. Now, it doesn't have to be that a lot of people think that politics happens after every 4 years. Right after every 4 years, electioneering season, that's when politics takes place. Right, politics happens even while governance takes place. Right now, your ability to lobby, your ability to to it's a game, right? Now, you presenting your own opinion, your own choices to be better than another person's own. Now, what will make other people choose you or believe what you're saying or tilt towards your own opinion rather than another person's own? Now, it has to do all that has to do with politics. So that's being said, right? When you talk about a politician is not just someone who goes to the polls to run for an office. Now, of course, you know that when you talk about governance, you talk about policies, you talk about laws, you talk about decisions that are being taken. Who are those people? There are people behind the scenes who don't occupy those offices or they don't sit on those seats, but they make things happen, right? Behind the scenes, we don't see them. A lot of people, and I always love to say that, especially let me use the National Assembly as an example. Now, these are our legislators, are lawmakers, right? But we have legislators who do not even understand what lawmaking is, right? They have no, especially in Nigeria. Now, talking about Nigeria, my beloved country, we have legislators who don't even understand their responsibilities as legislators. They don't even understand what lawmaking is. Now, as citizens, constituents don't even know that, because these people are representatives, we have um, the powers to influence the laws they make. Now they are representing us. They are just a reflection. They are supposed to be a reflection of who we are. Now, because it is one person representing, let's assume a senator. We have a senator representing a senatorial zone. Let me take Plateau State, where I am, as an example, for instance. Now, in my zone, I am from the central zone of Plateau State. And in the central zone of Plateau State, we have, I think we have Pangshin, we have Mangu, we have Bokos, we have Kanke, we have Kanam local government. That's five local governments. And you have one person speaking for five local governments from that senatorial zone. Now, you do not expect that this one person will be in these five local governments at the same time. Now you do not expect that this one person will know what is going on in these five local governments at the same time. Now that is where you have other people who come into play. Now you have people, he has people who are from these different local government. That's where you have aides. Yes, you have aides, you have advisors, and all that, they come into play. Now, when you talk about these advisors, you talk about these aides, they do not go to the polls to run for an election. But these are people that come to this representative to say, okay, this is what is going on in this constituency, or this is what is going on in this local government, this is what is going on in this ward, this is the problem they're experiencing, and all that. And he listens to those people more than he listens to the people now in actual sense. They'll come out to tell you that yes, they listen to the people, they hear the cry of the people, but meanwhile, we have middlemen, right? And these middlemen are also referred to as politicians, because these people in office will work based on what these people tell them, right? And then we always say that politics is local and all that. We have youth leaders, we have community leaders, and all that, right? Now, those people do not, their names do not come out on ballot papers asking you to come and vote for them, community leaders and all that. Maybe probably in communities they have their little elections there to come up with their leaders. Most of these people is based on appointment, right? Now, even as citizens, now let me bring it to we citizens. Even as citizens, apart from going to the polls to go and vote, right? Now, there's another election, the bigger election that takes place before we are given the opportunity to vote. And what election are we talking about? We're talking about the primary election, where the main decision is being taken, right? Now, when you talk about that, it is only politicians. When I say politicians now, people who belong to political parties that can only partake in that process, that particular election, right? So if you're going to say that a politician is only someone who runs for office, what about those that vote aspirants to become candidates? What do we call them, or where do we place them, right? So it's all about, a politician is someone who belongs to a political party and has influence, right? You have influence. The moment you belong to a political party, right, you have taken a stand. And of course, you have 100 percent guarantee to be called a politician. That is to say that you want to actively participate, right? Apart from that, we also have politicians who do not participate actively, but they are passive, right? So we have active politicians, and then we have passive politicians. Now, active politicians are those that go to run for office, and of course they are either holding a position in their political party or in the state, or of course they vote and they are going to be voted for. Then we have passive politicians. Now, passive politicians, they are not running for an office, they're not running for an office, but they are in the system. They are there. They can be financiers. We have people who finance politicians. Especially, I know that a lot of people don't know, and then these politicians will not come to tell you. But you see, most business people, all these big business people you see around, right? Those people that you think have nothing to do with politics, most of them are even more involved than even the party card carrying members, because most of them can sight you from a distance and are like, okay, I see that you can do this. Okay, the money is the problem. I can finance you. Go and run for this position. But of course, there are stakes and other papers that are signed behind the curtains that a lot of people out there don't get to know. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I really appreciate the way you broke it down, and you broke down different levels. There's something that you said that I wanted to just get some clarity on. Does a politician have to be affiliated with a party?
Yes, you
Why?
have to be, right? Now,
Why?
this is because, okay, so we have party structures, right? the moment you talk about, remember I said politics is a tool that gets you to that office, right? So, and then again, I mentioned that it has to do with influence, right? Now, based on, let me even talk about the way the political system is in Nigeria. Now, you cannot have a voice in politics if you do not belong to a political party. Now, this is because even when appointments are being made, right? Now, one thing people don't know is, let's assume in Plateau State, commissioners are going to be appointed. The governor does not sit to just say, okay, he has this list of people, though he also has influence on the list. Has this list of these people, so they are going to be commissioners and all. Now he goes back to the roots, to stakeholders. Now we have stakeholders at what level? Local government, national government, international government. Now these stakeholders that the person is giving appointment to, does the person belong to the political party? What has been the person's contribution in the political process or in the political party? What has he contributed? Now, when I talk about contribution, it doesn't have to be monetary contribution. It might be that you have contributed your time. It might be that you have contributed your knowledge. It can be as basic as, when we go to political meetings, all I do is probably to share water, right? Or to ensure that people get seats to sit. But how have you served in the political system? So the political in the political party. So the political system in Nigeria rewards your service in political party. How much have you served?
So let me ask a question, and I hope this isn't a naive question, but isn't that part of the problem then? Because if the parties are what people are beholden to, rather than the people or the society, and what you've described, it sounds like really, kind of the way to progress anything is, one, you have to belong to the party. If you have to belong to the party, then what you care about is the party, not actually, I don't know, the country or where you come from. For me, that's a tension. That's a problem. But let me be very transparent here. I'm also somebody who I'm apolitical. I don't engage very much at all in any political parties, because for me, I find parties to be a problem.
Okay. So, okay, I think so. The thing here is, if really you want to influence the process of who becomes a leader, who occupies that seat, then you cannot sit on the fence. That's the truth. Now, this is, I know that probably Christine who associates would understand what I'm about to say more, maybe because she has heard it a lot, right? Now, what we do at general elections is we choose between the devil, the
And the
deep blue sea, and probably hellfire.
Mhm.
This is
yes,
because based on our political system, right, which you mentioned is a problem, right? There are specific sets of people that sit to decide who becomes a candidate. We have so many aspirants. I can wake up today and decide I want to be an aspirant, right? Now, I want to be an aspirant, I want to aspire for a position. The only way I can really be called an aspirant is if I belong to a political party. Now, I cannot partake in the general election if I've not been elected as a candidate. How do I become a candidate? Now, there are specific sets of people that sit to decide who becomes a candidate. So, because the number of people that decide who becomes a candidate is limited, is very small compared to the population of people we have in the country, it makes it a very big problem because the whole country is not deciding who becomes a
yeah,
candidate. And that is why we advocate for people. Let's have more people in
political
political
party.
parties. When we
Yeah,
have more people, then it's going to break that is going to bridge that gap of some people sitting in their corner. You know that there are people that if you want to run, when you do not visit them,
Yeah.
automatically forget. They have their supporters and they will tell their supporters it's primary election. Now let me deviate a bit, right? Um the Electoral Act was amended just recently. We had a reform of the Electoral Act, whereby political parties, then we used to have your either indirect primaries, direct primaries, or consensus, right? Now we have just direct primaries and consensus, where it has given people the power, political party members the power for everyone to be part of deciding who becomes a candidate. What we
I
used to
want to
have
come.
is delegates. Okay,
No,
you want to say something?
no, I'll leave it alone.
Seneng, say what's on your mind.
Okay, I
Say
want to
what's
make
on
a
your mind.
distinction. Oh, yeah, I
Okay.
want to call out a distinction in what you're saying. Okay, because it gives political parties the power. It doesn't give the people the power. And this is my tension, and this is my problem with the party idea and the party system anywhere, not just in Nigeria, not just in the United States or in the UK, anywhere. One of the things I do like about, appreciate about what I see in the United States, or what I'm aware of in the United States, is that anybody can file. You don't have to belong to a party necessarily to file to run for office. So that to me is a
Hmm.
strength because then as a local community person, I can file to represent my community and have my community vote for me independent of a party. I appreciate that. But so then I'm truly then, representing the people. But then one of the other things that I think is interesting, and Christine asked me about something that I wanted to wait until you were in the room, because something that is very interesting that I observed over the past, the UK now has a new prime minister. And I do think it's very
Hmm.
fascinating when we watch what happens in the UK because a party can stay in power, but they can say, no, you, the person who is the head of the government, we are no longer satisfied with you. And so we'll remove you, keep the party in power, and bring somebody new in. I feel like that gives the people a different kind of voice. And it holds either individuals or parties accountable differently. So, Peace, actually, I'd like to ask you, as a politician who's very much involved in the political process, can you talk about either a strength or a deficiency in that idea of, okay, if it is that the party is what it is, where is the accountability to holding the parties responsible, right? If the case is your argument is the case in Nigeria, the party is where it's at. Okay, great. But if we have an individual in the party who holds office and they are not performing, where's the mechanism for removing that individual, retaining the party, and I hope the mechanism isn't wait 5 years to the next election.
Okay. So interestingly, right, we have the same thing in Nigeria. Now, for the legislative, that's the National Assembly, right? We have what we call the recall. It's just like what you have explained that goes on there. Now, for the National Assembly, when you vote in what he or she is doing there, you have the power as the people, right, to recall the person back. And another election is going to be held for that position to be filled. The only difference is it's not just the party, that it doesn't have to be the same party that would occupy that seat, but it has to be any other person. Another election is going to be held for that position to be filled, right? Now, the problem
Okay, network has kicked
Yes,
her
ma'am.
out,
Oh, okay, yeah.
but I'm sure when she gets back, she will. But I think you have a supporter in the chat box. Mark says solid points on power belonging to the party and not the people. So I
But
think
you
you have
see,
a supporter.
I think that
Go
that's
ahead.
a
I
problem
think you
with
have
the.
some more thoughts to share.
Sorry.
Go ahead. I said I think you have some more thoughts to share.
I mean, I just think that that's a problem because, and again, I'm talking, let's say in this context, well, no, it's not just this context, actually, not just the US context. I see many well intended politicians in so many places go into the game with well intentions, but then become beholden to the party. And so then They will sit in the party spaces and claim that they are representing their constituents, but not actually serving their constituents. Meanwhile, the constituents keep them there for the sake of participating in the party. And I'm like, I don't get that. I just don't get that. So
So I'm particularly in a dilemma, right? Because I understand. Okay, so Nampak says, but no national thought peace, no national assembly has ever been recalled in Nigeria. All right, bullets. We
Okay,
take
so
our
okay,
peace.
okay, maybe I was going to. Okay, let me hear you.
Okay, so I was just saying that I am in a dilemma right now because I understand the idea of party structure because I'm also looking at it in terms of the fact that as a nation grows and as people expand, there is need for some kind of orderliness and organization, right? And I do understand the need for parties, and I respect that. I think that it makes more sense. In my mind, I just think more people need to be part of parties if that is where the decision making power is. But I'm also conflicted by the fact that we still do not see the transparency that we want when people even join these parties. It's like even when you join it with a transparent how to go and make a difference, you end up being silenced. I mean, we hear stories of party delegates being paid to go to the primaries and go and vote a particular person. And how do you stand against, how do you, like, so what's the point, right? So I'm in a dilemma, really. I don't even know where I stand. But peace, over to you.
Okay, so I don't know. Let me say something to what Nampa said, and before I went off, then come back to this your question. Right now, nobody nobody has been recalled in our National Assembly. Comes in, right? As citizens, do we even know that we can recall a member to come back, right? To come back home for another mission. So that alone is a problem on its own. Now, back to your question, it still brings us to how much power and how much knowledge people have about politics, about their rights, and about governance. Now, you talked about people joining political parties. I also have, at some point, I was advocating, let's have more people join political parties. Now, last week, we started talking about something about the dirtiness of politics and all that, right? You cannot just have a good mind and join politics and expect that you're going to cause change. It's a lie. It's not possible. When you're not coming with something, believe me, it's either you beat them or you join them, right? You can only beat them when you're coming in with something different. And what is that something different you can come in with? Your knowledge and understanding of the process, what is obtainable, what it should be like, right? When I'm coming into a political party, I just joined a political party. I have no knowledge of political structure, no knowledge of politics, no knowledge of the word system and all that. And I join a political party. And someone from somewhere in the political party comes to tell me that he is a godfather or I have to be answerable to that person. I don't know my rights, right? Of course, I don't know my level that I have the same rights as whoever a member of that political party is, then it's different. Now, before coming into the political party, right, I already know that, okay, access is a problem for people, right? For you to even speak up is a problem in political party. I should be able to have knowledge of how to influence processes, what goes on in political party, what is an actual political meeting, what does it look like, right? When we come to political party meetings, right, um who are the party escos, who is responsible for what, where do the people come in, Is there restriction for party members to speak when they want to speak, right? Now, if I come in and I don't know that, I can speak. The virtue of being a card carrying member, and I'm seated in that office, in that meeting, I have the right to air my own opinion, and you have to listen to me. Nobody can shut me down. When you shut me down, I let you know that no, I know my rights. I'm a member of the party. Nothing stops me from airing my own opinion. And then I'm coming in and I know that even as I'm just joining this party newly, right? I have the right to run for a position as long as I know that I'm supposed to be paying my party dues. I cannot say I'm not paying my party dues and I want to come and enjoy the privileges of the party. So are you aware of that? Because these are things that people rub and throw at your face, will throw at your face when you come in and you want to say something, right? You want to say something and they say, have you even been attending meetings? Have you been contributing in the meeting, right? Have you served the party and all that? Those are things that are not supposed to, but that is what is going on. So going back to what Dr. Seninge said earlier about being an independent person in what happens in developed countries, UK and all that, you can run there for a position and run. Now, if we're going to do that in Nigeria, then we have to amend our constitution from above. Now, this is where the people need to understand the power they have. Because it is happening this way does not mean that it has to happen like that forever. There's always room for amendment and reform every election year. Electoral Act was amended not long ago, and it has been amended again, right? It means that because the election calendar is out, we cannot do anything about it for now. But we can start a conversation about what needs to be reformed. And immediately after election, we can pursue that to ensure that there is a reform. So, as citizens, do we know that we can actually effect these changes? Of course, one person cannot do it. So imagine we have a larger number of people who actually know their rights, right? We can come together to see how we can effect some of these changes, especially around our constitution. When we have members who, let's even talk about the recall. We're talking about amendment of reform of our constitution, amendment of our electoral act and all that. If our members are not giving us what we want, imagine people from different senatorial zone. We from this zone are saying the member who sent there is not doing what he's supposed to do. We collectively come together to ensure that we write to INEC. We have is just getting 50% of those who participated in that election. It doesn't have to be 50% of those who voted for that member, but 50% of those, let's assume 100 participated in the election. We just need 50 and plus one, that means 51 to recall to write to INEC. And if INEC is not doing what they are supposed to do, we've called for this person to be recalled. If they're not doing what they're supposed to do we know as a people that we can sue INEC for not doing that? Right? Take it, make it a legal case. And then when everybody, when our mouth is coming together, we're coming together to do that, then it's going to hold more water. But you have maybe just 2 people or 20 people talking about recall, talking about reforms. It cannot work, right? So as citizens, we also need to know what we want and what we don't want. And then when we have members who actually know their rights, we can pursue that to ensure that there is a reform.
Okay. Okay. Please, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So I have a question, right? I as you were speaking,
Hmm.
but I want to read something from Nampak, who has been following closely. So he says, we have an epidemic of lack in sincerity of purpose as a people and nation at the moment. So, knowing what is right as a people in a political system is in reality far from doing what is right. I will read something else that he said following up. Of the many challenges of recall, personal interest continues to impede on the effectiveness of even starting the process. Now, I can hear a lot of lack of self leadership from the things he has said, right? That in
Hmm.
reality, this is what is obtainable, right? But the truth is, when we look down to the roots of us as a people, let's leave politicians aside. We as a people, are we truly sincere enough to stand up and really do the right thing? I think those are questions that we really, really also need to think about. Um, okay, I had a question, right? But maybe before you answer my question, Senenge would like to say something. But
Well,
my
I'm just
question,
curious. Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead, go ahead. No,
No,
go
I'm
ahead.
just curious. Where is the space for anybody to stand? Because from what I understand, from what has been shared, you cannot be an individual. There is no space for any one person to stand. You have to be part of the party. And so then it doesn't matter what any one person wants to do. At the end of the day, it's whatever the party does, whatever the party decides. So it doesn't matter how good you are if the party's rotten. I just, I just, you know, because I'm trying to look for examples of where a party has made change in a society, and
Mm,
I in any society, and I am
mhm,
not seeing that or not able to pull examples of any party that has made change, that has actually
mm,
contributed. Because when people
mm,
again join all of these parties, wherever, whatever country context, they join a party and then they live in service to the party. I'm like, okay, if that's what you're doing, cool. But what's the party doing? When I think about, okay, good. When I think about communism, that maybe is the one example from the things that we are all learned people. So of the things that we have all learned in different spaces, you know, communism maybe is an example of where that service to the party, and then the party has done things for the society. Now I'm using huge air quotes there,
mm,
but in the examples that we are educated on, whether it's Cuba or the Soviet Union or China, and the idea behind communism, and then what they're providing for, you know, for the people and so on, or supposedly, or whatever. I don't live in those places. I don't know. But as a system, that's the maybe that's the system that I've seen, or at least been taught, that the party is in service of the people. Many of these other systems, the party's not in service of the people. The party's in service of the party.
mhm,
And so I am
Hmm.
back to my initial tension of why does anybody care about the party? Why are we supporting the parties? Why are we encouraging? And I'm asking my friend, the politician, why are we encouraging people to join parties, to be a part of parties, rather than no, empower your community. Go and be the individuals in your communities, and let's stand up the communities. Why do we have three parties? Why not? How many
Okay.
of us in Nigeria? 220,000. So why not 20,000 parties, each one representing 10,000, where you can actually hear the voices of the people? Because by the time any one or 10,000 people join a party of 100,000 people, that voice of 10,000 people is not a voice anymore. It's now the voice of the party. Sorry, let me get off my soapbox and be
So
quiet.
now, okay, so okay, so then I get your idea, but then I'm also thinking about, you know, I'm thinking in terms of, so if we have more, and personally, I think that we should have more parties, right? We should have
Mm.
more parties. This thing where there's just one majority party, because basically when we go to elections, it's either you're voting this party or you're not. It's basically that, right? And but then I'm also thinking about the idea of multiple parties and how do we organize that in the system under one government. If we say we are a democracy, right? Of course, the democracy is that people should be able to be heard. But then I'm also saying, is having multiple parties the way? I think that's my question now. That's what's running through my mind now. Peace, over to you. You're the expert here. Please share your thoughts. Okay, her network has kicked her out. But I'd really like to hear her thoughts on this. But Senegal, go ahead,
Well, the
please,
thing for
before
me
she goes.
about parties or anything is what are we in service to, right? Because also it is this party building the nation, whether we agree on how or not. If you're in service of building the nation, then the people can hold you accountable to doing that work. But when
Mm-hmm.
people are in service to the party, then okay, that's what we're just checking for. So are you supporting the party? Hey, we praise you.
Mm-hmm.
It
So
doesn't
now,
matter whether
Seneki,
you're building hope or not.
okay, so fine. Now, I want to now ask you a question, right? Is your challenge with the idea of parties or with the idea of where their loyalties lie? Because from what I'm hearing, I don't think you necessarily condemn the party idea if they're in service to the people. Am I correct?
Correct. I don't condemn the party idea if they truly are in service to the people. But when I keep seeing or hearing people talk party, 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 and that's what they're talking about, meanwhile, I don't see roads. Meanwhile, I see, the sewers right next to the open market. Meanwhile, we don't have hospitals, we don't have schools, and because the party this. I'm like, why are we still supporting any of these parties? What are they doing for anybody other than the party? And if the goal is to join, sorry, I'm getting
Hmm.
vexed. If the goal is to join the party, though, to build the party up, but the party's not doing anything, then why should that be the goal for me to join the party?
Hmm. Please, this
Okay.
is a tough nut to crack. Over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So I think I don't think the party is the problem, right? I don't think the party is the problem. This is my own opinion. And Nagpa said something. He talked about an epidemic, right? Currently ongoing. And I think the people are the problem. Now, in the sense that was it Christine or you that asked the question why we keep encouraging people to join the party when the party is not even serving the people, right? And we are encouraging people to join the party. Now, this is because the way the system is structured, right? The only way you can have so much influence is when you're part of the party. It brings you closer to the people in positions, right? Now, the only way we can cause change, or yes, the only way we can cause change is if we have good people, not just anybody now, joining the political party. Now, there's no problem with the party. If we have, Christine made mention of something about having multiple parties and all that. And in my head, I'm like, if we have more parties, right, to me, is like having more problems. That is because the people who belong to the party will not even worked on the people who belong to these parties. Now, it boils back to we as a people individual leadership problem, right? We as a people, and I always love to say that the major problem we have in government, right? Forget about the political leaders. Now, let's even talk about civil servants, people who are there in the system. You're not moving them anywhere until they retire, right? These people are there. They even cause more harm than the politicians themselves. Now, when we have more people come into the political party, more people who are good, more people who understand the right thing to be done, the ideal thing to be done. Now you're going to overpower, I don't want to say, you're going to flush the dirty ones out. Now, this is because if myself and you, we join a political party and we think that we are the good ones. Now we have 10 others or 100 others who have adjusted to the bad system and are there, they are comfortable there. When it comes to anything that has to do with voting, politics has to do with number. When it comes to anything that has to do with voting, has to do with influence, has to do with decisions and all that, they are going to overshadow us. They are going to win over us. So the idea is to have more good people join political parties so that when decisions, critical decisions are taken in the party, now it's not going to be one opinion. We have a conflicting opinion. We have another opinion. We have another set of ideas that are going to say, okay, it doesn't have to be done this way. Why are we not doing it this way? Let's do it this way. That's the idea of having more people and not just having them in the party. The moment we have good people in the party. Of course, you know that our fate, or yes, in who becomes emerges as a candidate. Now you know that it's going to be a competition of competence. Now, not just anything that serves. Now we have more competent people in the party. So you know that if you're going to elect one person, it's going to be if this person does not go, this other person, we know that these people are competent, and these people have leadership qualities, these people have worked on themselves, and they are ready to serve. Then we have one of them going there. Now, if we have them, we know that the changes we want to effect in our constitution, right, electoral act and our laws, is going to be that we're not just changing laws. It's not going to be about self. Now, it's not going to be about the political party. But if we do not change those systems, you see, this problem of political party will keep experiencing it until we decide that we as a people were ready, right, to do the right thing. We're ready to be better. If you are not a good citizen, you cannot be a good leader. It's not possible. So it starts from here. I, as a person, what are my values as a citizen? If I do not have values as a citizen, I can't have values as a leader. What does integrity mean to me as a citizen? What does accountability mean to me as a citizen before I can start thinking about what integrity, what accountability means to me as a leader? It goes down to as little as basic as now in just when you're if you want to be angry, when you board either a tricycle or a taxi or so, you can be moving, or probably you're just walking on the road, right? You can see someone from his car. The person has eaten something or consumed something from a container or a nylon and all that, and you just trash it on the road. Or you get to a traffic light and it has not said go, and you're already moving. It tells
That's it.
you what kind of a leader that person will become. So if I'm not interested in becoming a better citizen, forget it. So if we don't have better citizens getting
You
into
can't have
political parties
that.
to man these political parties, then we have a problem. By the way, where I said that political parties are not the problem is if you have taken time to go through the constitution, party constitution, political party constitutions of the parties we have in Nigeria, you're going to be amazed at the laws we have, right? That is supposed to be guiding us. Truth is, the people in those parties, do they care about that? We just have them as photographs. Let it be that we have a constitution that is guiding us. But is it really guiding us? It's not guiding us.
Okay, so this conversation is hot. So let me read a couple of comments. Let me read a couple of comments. So Nampak says, and thank you, Nampak, for following this conversation. You've made it so interesting. He says, I stand to be corrected, but our political parties at the moment are only vehicles through which individuals get into elected offices. Then he gives a follow-up comment. He says, public office holders are often perceived to be the problem. I tell you the truth from experience in both primary and secondary elections, the people, that is the masses, are the real OGs, that's the original gangsters of the problem. I agree with Nampak.
Exactly.
I agree with Nampak on
Exactly.
this. It's not just a party problem, it's a people problem, to be very honest, right? I've come on now, peace. We've done outreaches together. You see
Hmm.
what happened when we did COVID-19 outreach. You saw what happened. We went to give food, right, to people, and they were harassing us, you know, and assuming that we brought it for political purposes. That's just one out of many. They almost lynched us. Do you remember when we went to Shendam? And it's as little as a citizen, throwing trash, on the ground, right? And all of those things, as little as in your office, taking bribes, not being honest, and then these same people go and join political parties. I think it's just a toxic system, because as you were speaking, another thing came to my mind, and what was running to my mind really was, can they really? can change really occur? Because if we're saying that, oh, for example, maybe the three good people, the three of us go and we join a party now, what are our three voices compared to a rotten system in that party? Do you understand? Like, how long is it going to take us to phase out? We have to be an army of good people flooding the system. And where's that army going to come from? Because a lot of the good people are not even interested in the political process. Another thing would be, okay, let us, the good people, go and form a party. But again, it goes back to, if how many good people are interested in the process. Another question that came to my mind is, in these political parties, is there anything like political education? Because we keep talking about are they educating them in the party about what they should even know? These are the questions running through my mind. Our time is almost up, right? And I would like us to round off, right? Or rather, steer the conversation to you, the Peace Dukas, right? You said a lot about the political system, about what it entails to be a politician. I think for me, what stood out the most from what you said is the fact that it starts with self-leadership, really. If we're not good people, we cannot be good leaders, right? So I want you to tell us, right, for you who's audaciously chosen this path, how would you say that in your own little way, and I won't want to call it little, that's why I'm using air quotes, how would you say that in your own way, against all the odds, because there are so many odds from what you have just said, how are you audaciously trying to make a change? Because for me, my body just weak me. I'm just like, bro, like, if I enter party now, if I go there and I disagree now, like, bro, I will just vex and leave the party. So, how are you, audaciously, trying your best to, make the change? Senegal, do you have an additional question to Peace?
My question is similar. My question is, how can you stay a good person in a party? Because a
Hmm.
lot of what you describe, is contingent, like as you said, on good people joining the party. Christine, a conversation you and I had once upon a time. I was a small boy in Nigeria, and then I came back to the States. And many of my peers I've stayed in touch with, and now now we're nearing 50, and some of them are now involved in politics. And some of the quarrels that I get into with some of my childhood mates are, when we were young and as we've grown, we have held these ideas of service to the people, service to a country, building, nation building, and so on. And then these people who I love dearly, who I've known since I was a small child, are now they hold position. And then when I say to them, Haba, haven't we for 30 years been talking about these big men who don't do anything? Now you have position. What are you doing? And they say to me, well, Senegal, you have to understand. You have to understand now. Senegal, you have to understand. So when the position is, okay, you can be a good person, but then you join the party and now you're in service to the party, this is where the tension comes for me. But I appreciate and I applaud you and your work. I very much appreciate the encouragement too for people to be engaged in the process. And I hope that good people can stay good people despite political parties.
Peace, over to you, please. Tell us, how
Okay.
are you audaciously doing this? How are you staying good in the midst of what is going on? Because for me, I'm concerned.
Okay, so I think the most audacious part of my work, right, is being in civil service, in public service, right, civil service, and at the same time being an advocate, right? Now it gives me I'm experiencing it, and at the same time I'm in the system and I'm talking against the system, right? Now this is because from the part of the system itself, right? Government and all that, people look at me and like there are times that I'll have to call the government out. And when I call the government out, trust me, the bashes I get, right? It affects even my bosses, like at work, right? Sometimes I'm like, oh God, are you sure that you're not just going to quit? But I still want to be in the system to understand what goes on, like really in the system and all that, right? And at the same time, there are times that the government will do something that I need to applaud the government. and the people will come after me. You said you're an advocate, you're talking for the people, and you're clapping for the government, that kind of thing. So um I'm in the middle of all that, right? But for me, the truth is, no matter who you are, people identify real when they see one. And
Mm.
because I have had experience where I've been called to do something for the government, right? And when I got there, it was supposed to be to do something for the government, to use my own platform to do something for the government, because they feel that, okay, I'm always talking about good governance, I'm always talking about people will get to believe me, right? They'll believe what I say. So when I got there, I was like, I don't have a problem advocating for the government. That is because it's already part of the work I do. But the problem is, it's not everything you give me that I'm going to put out. Whatever you're going to give me has to be true, right?
Mm.
And it has to be something that aligns with my values.
Mhm.
Yes, very, very important. And if it doesn't align, I cannot do it. Guess what? That was how I lost that opportunity. And I'm
Mm.
cool. Now, with the
Mm.
work I do, I interface with government officials often, right? On radio, I have to, of the accountability part, right? I meet them like every week. I get to see them and all that. And what is expected is, um, whenever you finish an interview, or you're going to send questions to the people you're going to be interviewing ahead of time. I don't do that. I don't even sit to write questions to say, these are the
Who's
questions
them
I'm
on the
coming to
hot
come and
seat?
answer. Yes, I don't do it. I've had a situation whereby a government official literally requested for the question, called my boss to tell me to send questions. I said I wasn't going to do that. I don't do that. I've had a situation whereby a government official was going to send a representative. Yes, in fact, a local government chairman, by the way. And I said, no, if it's not going to be you in person, then we shouldn't even have the program. You're the one I'm going to be interfacing with, right? And these are things that at first, in my head, I'm like, oh God, these people are going to bash me. I'm not going to hear the last of it, right? But let's do it. Whatever, I care less what comes after. And let me tell you something, doing that alone has earned me the respect it has earned me, and the position, the access it has earned me. Even me, I'm still coming to terms when I sit at times, I'm like, really? I was thinking I was going to be bashed for doing this, and this is where it has brought me to. There are people that, because of that alone, right? I pick up my call, they miss my call, and they return my call, right? When I talk about things, I put out a video or a complaint about things, they reach out to say, okay, we hear you saying this. What is the problem? How can we do this? How can we do that? Right? Now, because they are doing that and they are responding to it, it's not everything you pick and then you bring to social media. So it is possible to still be there, right? And still have a voice and still influence things. Now, it is only when they know you or you're being known for something, right? What are you known for? Are you known as someone that you can be told to do this and you're running to do it? Are you known for someone that will always ask questions and will always want clarity on what you're being asked to do? Or are you known as someone who always wants to contribute, right? You're not just silent and everything goes, right? Even them, they know when to look for you. They know the kind of people when you come in and you're all about anything goes. Yes, sir. Yes, ma. When you're all about what is now popularly known in Plateau State, data boy, data girl. You post what they want you to post. You say what they want you to say. I promise you, when they need you to do the dirty work, they look for you.
Mm.
But when they know that you stand for something, they know who you are and what you stand for. When the real issues are being discussed, they look for you because they know that, yes, there's something you need. And then I think, lastly, for whoever might be listening or whoever will get to watch this, right? I always love to say that whatever opportunity you get, ensure that the first thing that comes shouldn't be self. The
Hmm.
truth is, if you're going to put self first, then of course I'll think about probably the transport I'm getting to get into the stakeholder engagement, where I'm going to make my voice being heard, or where I'm going to interview someone, because of course I'm expecting that after the interview, you're going to squeeze envelope into my hands, right?
Hmm.
People wonder the moment I finish an interview, the first thing I do is to run away from that place. Yes,
Hmm.
after I take a picture with you, I quickly run away because staying there now, even without me asking, gives you the notion, probably she's waiting for you to do something and all that, right? So the first thing that should come to mind is not about yourself. What are you there for, right?
Hmm.
It should keep ringing in your head. Ensure that you have achieved whatever has brought you to that room, whatever that space or that opportunity has been created for. Ensure that you do that. Ensure that you invest in yourself.
Hmm.
Politicians are not dumb. Politicians are not stupid. They might
Hmm.
act stupid. They
But
might
they,
act foolish. But
hmm.
believe me, they know value when they see one. And they go
Hmm.
after value at whatever cost to get you to their path because they love strategists. If you can talk very well, they know that when they have you in their corner, you're going to speak very well, and people are going to listen to you and are going to buy whatever you say. If you're someone who is a strategist, they know that when you come to their camp, you belong to their side, right? Of course, you're going to help them with strategy. They love young people, but they only work with young people that they can get value from. So, what value do you have? What value can you add? So that when you get access to those rooms, it's not about noise, you bash them here and there. Wisdom is profitable to direct. You also need to have a strategy on how you intend to engage with them to be able to get what you want.
Hmm. Thank you. That's a powerful ending, to be very
Yes.
honest. Yeah, that was a very powerful ending. I think that peace has stirred the conversation back to us. I think that for me, the entire thing tonight for me has been self leadership. Um, I believe that with or without being in a political party, we all can make change wherever we find ourselves. For some people, like Peace, where they are stationed to make change is in the political sphere. It doesn't mean that the rest of us cannot make change wherever we are. Because in the end, to be very honest, we are part of the citizenry, we are part of the voters, we are also, the experts that the politicians and people in government will look for when they need people who would actually make change, right? So whether or not you belong to a political party, where is your self leadership, right? How are you even serving your community? I think in the very first episode when I and Senengu were talking, I spoke about how whenever I'm asked, why I do what I do, I always say it's because we've grown up in a system where we blame everybody for everything. So it's easy to blame the political system in Nigeria. It's easy to blame the politicians. It's easy to blame the flawed system. But we forget that we are also contributory to that flawed system, right? And we have a role to play as well. So thank you, Peace, for that strong closing. Senegal, do you have anything to say before we wrap it up
The
tonight?
last thing I want to say is yes, let's leave the words, the people with Peace's words. I love the final questions that you ask, and I think that those are very important questions that should ring true in people's minds. What is the value that you have? What is the value that you add? To all of those who have joined us, thank you for joining us again. Stay audacious.
Thank you, everyone. I put it in the chat box that you can follow Peace's journey online. She's very active on Facebook and LinkedIn. And her name is Peace Dukas on those platforms. On Instagram, she is at the underscore Peace Dukas on Instagram. So do well to follow her, engage with her. One thing I can truly testify is that her timeline is sane, and she actually shares content that will help you grow as a citizen and a politician as well. Shout out to everyone who joined in tonight's conversation. Special shout out to Nang Park, who was really, really airing his views in the chat box. Peace,
Love
do
the
you have
engagement.
any final words before we close out?
Is it me?
Yes, yes. I wanted to say, do you have any final words? Any final words before we close out?
Yes, please. Yes, you know that. Of course, I can't go without saying a very big thank you to you, Christine, and Dr. Senenge. Like, thank you for the opportunity to. I think you have lessened my work, right, by creating an opportunity for me to reach other people with what I have to say using my voice, right. So I want to say a very big thank you to you, and thank you for what you're doing, right, and I will keep being audacious. I'll keep being
Yes.
audacious, right? And I'm calling on any other person. Please, please choose your calling over fear, over challenges, right? Over any other obstacle. Let's keep being audacious and we'll keep making change.
Thank you. You can
Thank
see
you.
that audaciously won over Nigerian network, and we did this thing too.
And we did it, please.
Like, I am so proud of us, and I am so glad that we didn't give up. You know
Yes,
what?
yes.
We keep showing up, and that is what audacity is. It is showing up
Mm.
in spite and even in the midst of the challenges. So, everyone, thank you for being here with us tonight. Wherever you're watching this from in the world, at whatever time, know that we love you, we appreciate you, we encourage you to stay audacious. Next week, Thursday, we will be here at 8 West African time and 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode with another audacious person. Guys, stay audacious and remember that we are rooting for you. Oh, yes, before I forget, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Audacity for breakfast. Thank you so much and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.